In American slang, what's the tea means what's the gossip or what's the story. So today, we're going to look at the tea on tea. Let's get to it. All right, so while the water is getting ready, let's take a little bit of a walk into the mythological thing. The year 2737 BC. In ancient China, a young herbalist and noble person was tired. And so they went and sat underneath a tree. They had their servants boil water for them, and while the water was boiling, leaves from this tree fell into the cup of boiling water. The nobleman, Shen Nu, looked at the water, smelt it, and wanted to see what this concoction created. So he took it and he drank it. And that is supposedly a very Cliff's Notes version of where we get our tea from. So, tea has actually been recorded and enjoyed in China as early as 200 BC. It's a very old drink. Now, tea became the national drink of China during the Tang Dynasty, which is around 800 Common Era, or AD, if you will. Now, that's all fine and good for China. But most Europeans had never been around China or even been into China. So, how did it get into Western culture? That's a story that spread centuries. You see, Portuguese traders were the first to discover, from the Western point of view, Southeast Asia. They were given this drink by some of the nobles of the Chinese and Indo-Chinese emperors. It didn't really take off, but it became a bit of a status symbol, if you will. Portuguese traders brought it back to Portugal. Now, Portugal, eventually tea became very in fashion. You see, it became one of those things that the elite would drink, and if the elite did it, soon everybody would do it. This tea culture spread throughout Iberia, Portugal, and Spain. But it never really took off elsewhere. So low supply and high demand really made it so it didn't take off. The thing that made it take off was when King Charles II of England married Princess, gotta look at her name, I'm sorry, Catherine of Portugal. You see, England at the time was a coffee drinking country. They had interest in the Middle East, where coffee comes naturally. And everybody drank coffee. And it wasn't until the 1600s, during this time when England was going through a massive expansion effort into Indonesia, that they realized that coffee would grow very well in the island of Java. It was on the island of Java, where these coffee plantations were, that started the first domino of why tea became popular across Western culture. You see, the island of Java is humid, a lot more humid than Turkey, Ethiopia, and the Arabian Peninsula. The English did not planned for this very well with their coffee growth. They just went, oh, we don't have to trade for coffee, we can plant it ourselves. This greed actually was the demise of the coffee plantations. You see, humidity, heat, and all of these things that come with them spread fungus and disease. There was a fungus that wiped out most of the plantation. This left all of the peasantry and all of the people that could not afford higher demands in a lurch. Now, Catherine of Portugal, she was an avid tea drinker. She loved the stuff. She had grown up in Portugal. 1500s Portugal brought the tea over. She was really excited about it, right? And so she convinced King Charles that, hey, there's this drink made out of tree leaves that is pretty good. We can't really grow them here, but I think it's a good alternative. So King Charles started drinking tea. The nobles started drinking tea. And because of how low the supply of coffee was, the demand for tea got bigger and bigger and bigger. Which leads us to our second domino. The second domino is the East India Trading Company. You see, King Charles needed to do something. Tea was so in demand that piracy and black market trading had started to take over. The throne was losing money left and right because people had caught on, hey, there's this drink right here that actually gives us a little bit of an energy buzz, and it's more or less easily available. So illegal traders and tea runners, if you will, were bringing the tea over into Europe and selling it at discount to what the throne was selling it because they just weren't making enough tea. King Charles petitioned the East India Trading Company, which he owned some stock in. And he wanted to make sure that the throne got more money for the tea than these bootleggers. And so he petitioned them to sign deals on behalf of England with China and India. And they would be suppliers of tea. I didn't write down the date, sorry. In the late 1600s, tea was being shipped to England in bulk. So much so that it actually replaced coffee as the drink of choice because the supply had risen to meet the demand and people kind of loved it. Tea was such a popular drink in England that it actually came over to the Americas. And it was this drink that kind of spurred the rebellion that became the American Revolution. The Stamp Act caused England to put stamps on tea, causing basically the colonies to pay twice for it. But the Stamp Act, and especially the Stamp Act and double taxation of tea, caused this rebellion that blew up in the Boston Harbor. Now, America drinks coffee. I still like my tea. As you saw, I put milk in my tea. Very traditional. And I've got some pure sugar. I love it, but it's not exactly my favorite tea drink. I've got this thing called stevia extract. It's actually a natural sweetener from a plant. And supposedly it doesn't spike your insulin. Anyway, that's why I choose this. Just 3 little drops instead of 1 full scoop of sugar. So that's kind of the story of how tea became a popular drink in Britain and throughout the world. If you enjoyed this video, take a look at this video right here, where we discuss the Scottish influence on American society and how the Highland culture is being represented here in the Americas. If you like more cozy, simple living videos, don't forget to subscribe and comment. Are you a tea or a coffee drinker? I would love to know. We'll see you next time.